The couch sitters will go through their life with no standout moments. They will get old with no achievements or goals to look back on, because they never pushed themselves. They stayed boring. Whereas you on the other hand, you try to go out of your comfort zone. You understand you need struggle to have achievement, and you have so many achievements looking back that you can't even remember them all. If that is true and you really want to have that goal in mind, well, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as I will give you a blueprint into the world of running. Hi, my name is Max and welcome to Earthstride Society. Today we are going to be talking about how to break through barriers and goals, and how 10 kilometers is achievable within a week. Let me explain how. Now 10 kilometers, well, it seems like a massive goal, and it might seem unachievable. However, I have a story to tell you about how one person broke the 10 kilometer barrier in just a week. Well, it was my own brother, and under my own coaching, he managed to do it. Well, it was a couple years ago, one winter. My brother was told by my parents that he should start going out running to help with his football. They asked me to help him along on his running journey, and I was very annoyed by this, as you can probably imagine. I was quite far on in my running journey at this point, and the idea of slowing down to teach my brother how to run is not what I found the most enjoyable of times, especially thinking about doing it instead of actually doing it. So I took a step back. I made sure he had a correct technique and form before we hit the long distance running. Now, he's a very lazy individual, my brother, but actually with the training and the technique down, he managed to pull through. We started with 3 kilometer runs. I made sure he didn't have any music in so he could concentrate on his breathing and his technique. I was very disgruntled by this, but I told him it was for the best. Every time he would lose his rhythm or his breathing pattern, I would have to correct him and make sure we started again. Not from the beginning of the run, but just start again with a new rhythm. And after a while, after a couple of days, with the 3 kilometer run, it was okay for him to not burn out after these runs, and we managed to get the technique near enough down. Now, it was at this point I was quite selfish, and I wanted to get back to my long runs, at least minimum 7 kilometers. Now, that might not seem like long distance, but for someone who is starting out like my brother, it was very long for him, and the idea of it was probably worse than the run itself. I made sure that he was only going to step on to the next challenge after the 3 kilometers was down to a good time. And now if you want to get that 3 kilometer time down so you can advance on to the next part of running, I have a free schedule down below in the description. It's going to take you from absolutely nothing to a great 3 kilometer timed run. It is a month of running with a great reward at the end. It's going to be the great starting block for you to get going in your journey of running. So it was an icy morning and we headed out nice and slow, making sure his rhythm and breathing were down to a T. Now I was correcting him here and there, but making sure he never advanced too far forward and he never dropped back. I was always there with him as a pacemaker. Now this is where my brother's lack of knowledge of where we were going and his full concentration on his technique allowed me to make a few corners and a few turns here and there to get the run a little bit further than what we had originally planned. And we had gotten to the point in the run where if we were to have turned round, it would have been around 7 kilometers. And at this point I've taken a look at my brother, and bear in mind we're about 3.5 kilometers now, and I seemed he was doing okay. And maybe it was quite foolish of me, but I asked him a little question. First I asked him how he was feeling, to which he responded, he's feeling okay. And next I asked him if he wanted to do something a little bit crazy. He said, what do you have in mind? I said, 10 kilometers? To which he was absolutely shocked. And this is where I lied to him again. I told him we had already done half of it already, and you said you were feeling fine. And to which he was just a little bit shocked by how he was feeling at this point, because he thought he was only running maybe just over 3. And I said to him, well, imagine the feeling you'll have after running 10 kilometers. Don't worry, we'll take it slow, we'll keep on the rhythm and we'll keep on this slow journey, but we will hit it. To which he was, well, a little reluctant, but I think he felt the need to know how it would feel finishing a 10-kilometer run, because he knew how good it felt after 3. So imagine after 10. So we dialed into his breathing. We made sure it was deep, relaxed, and quite meditational. He was completely unaware of the meditation technique that I programmed into him at this point, but it was there to see. His foot placement became more precise as he became more aware, and we never really strained ourselves when it came to uphills and downhills. It was nice, smooth, and flat. Now he managed to slow down just a tad as the kilometers went on. At around 6.5 kilometers, so about 3 and a bit left, he started to slow. And this is when I told him, you've only got 3 kilometers left. This journey you've got left is what you were doing at the start of the week. And that again was such a boost for him, because he knew how good he felt after a 3 kilometer and that it wasn't that bad. He knew he could be doing more. It's all about a mental barrier. He just kept putting barriers up at the 3 kilometers. So at this point he's got 3 kilometers left and he's just ran 7. He knew he could do it because he'd done it before. There was no barrier now. The only barrier was getting home. And when we turned the corner for our street, he even had enough for a little sprint finish. Nothing too crazy. And he actually left me a little bit, but I'll just say I let him win. He collapsed on the sofa in pure elation, ringing our mum and dad to tell them what had just happened. He was in shock, and so were they. They couldn't believe that from the start of the week to the end of the week, such a big change had happened. Now this was all possible to the natural running technique that I had programmed into him on the 3 kilometers. It wasn't perfect, but it was close enough. It was close enough to get him to run 10 kilometers in his first week. Now if you want to program into this inner natural ability that we have, I also have a full beginner's guide to running, which will teach you the full knowledge of the natural running technique, along with natural breathing techniques, nutrition, stretching, and all the questions you have. It is an hour long with an exam at the end, and it's very thorough. Now, if that sounds interesting, to hit a goal beyond your wildest dreams in any form of distance, well, I believe this course is the one for you. Now, that was the story of when my brother managed to run 10 kilometers in his first week of running, down to a natural running technique taught by myself. If you have any goals that you've hit in the past that were quite beyond your imagination, put them down in the comments below, because I'm always interested to hear when people go beyond their own expectations, let alone others. I think putting barriers up for yourself and then smashing them is such a great mind lesson for you to learn, to realise there are no limits in life. It's only you getting in the way of yourself. Well, my name is Max. This is Earthstride Society. Thank you very much for watching. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.